Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. My name is Mike Megu. I want us to look at the state of the nation, matters to do with politics, economy and social stability. A lot has happened over the weekend, as I had alluded earlier, and as you have seen on the news, including matters to do with ODM strife that is ongoing. But before we get into that, I want us to get to see what is reported on our local dailies. I'll be starting with the Star. Kenyans turn to digital loans and Shylocks to survive tough economy. That story is told on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. Oburu versus Winnie. Battle for ODM's soul intensifies. That is a story that talks about the matters to do with ODM, as I have said, and the ongoing tiff in that party. East Park boasts that is corruption thrives where checks and balances are weak. That story is told on page 6. Quoting Gen Z for 2027, inside Ruto, Kindiki plan to woo young people ahead of 2027. That is matters to do with the youth vote, and that story is told on page 9 of the Star newspaper. Let's look at what is being reported on the Daily Nation today. It's Odinga versus Oginga. Speakers at Kibra rally turn the heat on ODM officials crashing dissent contrary to Raila's ideals. Winnie Odinga, the daughter of a former Prime Minister and ODM leader Raila Odinga, who died last October, has criticized an ODM wing she accuses of seizing power, railroading decisions without consultations, and threatening critics with expulsion from the party. Winnie also defended ODM Secretary General, that is Edwin Sifuna, and Embakasi East MP Babu Owino, setting up a clash with party leader Oburu Oginga, who is her uncle. That story is told on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation. Why Buddy KRA boats are in trouble. Late last year, the two ships with 55,000 tons of duty-free rice from India and Thailand docked at the port of Mombasa. The shipments worth about 6 billion shillings would not have attracted controversy were it not for a court order blocking grain imports. Read that story on page 3 of the Daily Nation. Kenyans still being lured into Russia war. When Rastas Nyale left Kenya last October, he believed he had secured a 6-month driving job in Russia that would finally ease his family's financial strain. That story is told on page 8. From Kanu's fall to Gen Z's rise, factors shaping LSK elections. Read that story on page 7 of the Daily Nation, and also on the front page of the Standard. ODM rift explodes. Winnie Odinga has stormed back into ODM politics with a show of force that has rattled the party's new power center. Commanding a mammoth Kamukunji crowd reminiscent of her late father's rallies, the Yala MP warned party bosses against unilateral decision and demanded a national delegates conference before any 2027 realignments. Her intervention sharply contrasts with smaller rival meetings led by party leader Oburu Oginga and exposes widening cracks as ODM weighs coalition talks with President Ruto's UDA. From Kibra to Kakamega, the party Raila built is now openly divided between unity calls, rebellion threats, and a high-stakes fight for its soul. That story is told on page 2 and 3 of the Standard newspaper. Let me introduce my guest for today, and on my immediate left is Mr. Innocent Musumbi, who is a political analyst. Thank you for making time.
Thank you so much. Good morning.
And also Peter Njeru, who is a political and economic analyst. Thank you for making time.
Good morning, Kenya.
Karibu sana. And also Wakili Frank Nyamari, who is an advocate of the High Court. Karibu sana.
Thank you. Thank you.
Let's start with what is making headline, and I'll start with matters to do with ODM. You know, the Standard reports about ODM rifts. ODM rift explodes. Matters to do with Winnie Odinga's yesterday's pronouncements, and especially she came out very strong and affirmed her support for both Sifuna and Babu Owino, who some section within that party are calling for ouster. Let me start with you, Musumbi. What do you make of all this, especially what is going on with ODM?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, after the demise of the ODM long-serving party leader, yes, Raila Amolo Odinga, may the Lord rest his soul in eternal peace, definitely the kind of cacophony we are seeing in the party had to happen. Mm-hmm. And in my view, it is just part of democracy. Mm-hmm. And the party is trying to find some semblance of synchrony. Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking at the young leaders, led by Winnie Odinga, Sifuna, and Babu Owino, and of course the old guards led, yes, by the current party leader. And of course, in my very view, Oburu and Winnie, they are talking just the same thing, only that the process at how they are going to achieve the coalition that is desirable between ODM and UDA, Oburu seems to approach it from the top-bottom, while Winnie Odinga is suggesting the bottom-up approach. Mm-hmm. Because Winnie Odinga, she's talking of, let us have the NDC. Yes. Yeah, let us listen to our people, let them tell us the way to go. Mm-hmm. But the Central Management Committee, led by Oburu, mm-hmm, seems to have already taken a position that we are going to have talks with the UDA. Mm-hmm. And again, we need to understand that Winnie Odinga is the daddy's daughter, completely. Mm-hmm. In one of our interviews, you remember her talking of, Winnie was born around 1990. And Raila Amolo Odinga launched his NDP sometimes in, was it around 93, 94, somewhere there, 94, 95. And she gave an interview talking about how the father drove a tractor to Kibra, carrying her as a young girl. And she was a little bit worried of so many guys walking next to the tractor, mm-hmm, chanting songs of, she was talking of songs of war. She was a little bit worried, but the dad told her, don't worry, these are our people and they are doing the bid for us. Mm-hmm. So Winnie understands exactly the terrain of ODM politics, mm-hmm, and she's actually doing it the right way. Not to rush too soon to join the government, mm-hmm, but at least to build the party first against what Oburu is doing. So in my submissions, mm-hmm, are that Oburu and the young Winnie, mm-hmm, they are talking of the same thing, mm-hmm, only that they want to follow different routes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Peter, do you agree with that? And also, Musumbi talked about synchrony. But then again, there's the aspect of identity. What do you think is ailing ODM?
Just like my brother Innocent has observed, mm-hmm, ODM is taking a normal trajectory, especially after the demise of the de facto party leader, mm-hmm, Raila Odinga, and may his soul rest in peace. Yes. So what I see happening in ODM right now is a reflection of what's happening all over the world and even in our own country. Mm-hmm. It's a contest between the old versus the young. I slightly differ with what the Nation newspaper is headlining today, mm-hmm, that it is Odinga versus Odinga. I do think it is the young versus the old. Mm-hmm. And this is more so being reflected by what is happening at ODM. Mm-hmm. It's not a family matter. Mm-hmm. It's actually a matter of national interest. Yes. I see Winnie Odinga and company agitating a worldview, mm-hmm, that is favored by the young generation of today. I also see the style of leadership that Oburu Odinga is providing, mm-hmm, being an agitation towards maintenance of the traditional style of leadership where authority or instructions come from top and trickle, mm-hmm, bottom. But Winnie says, no, we can do the bottom up. something similar to what President Ruto agitates for, bottom-up model of leadership, where you seek the views of the people at the bottom of the pyramid, and at the top, when making decisions, you factor those views.
Yes.
And therefore, this isn't about Odinga's family. It is about matters of national interest. It is about what's happening between the old versus the young. It is also a replica of what we experienced back in 2024, when the young people felt they are left out in decision making and they went out to the streets. So what I want to also wade into this conversation, I would want to also mention that this is also about succession management. Succession management in the sense that when the late Raila Odinga rested, he had not given a clear direction on who should inherit his throne. And we see, I did not speak clearly to the party what he wants, though there are various statements he had made that ODM has always been in government. Actually, not only in the current administration did we see Raila lead ODM into government, but into all other previous administrations. Raila has always, after losing election, he has always led his party into government. And actually, I think it's only ODM that has never missed being in power in government. So the story of succession management is something that every organization needs to respect and obey to avoid what we are seeing happening in ODM now, such that within the structure, there is need for pre-planning so that we know this has been clearly groomed by the leader to be able to wear that shoe in the event there is a vacancy. That piece was missing in ODM, where everybody, when you listen to Sifuna, there is what he believes, what he says the late Raila Odinga told him. When you listen to Babu Owino, there is what he says Raila Odinga wanted. When you listen to Winnie, there is what she believes Raila Odinga wanted. When you listen to the party leader, the brother to Raila, he has his own position about what Baba wanted. When you listen to the governor for Homa Bay, she has her own position concerning what Baba wanted. And Baba was one. Baba were not 7 people, and there are 7 positions. So this is a wake-up call to every organization, whether political, business, church, family, NGO, private company, to think more intentionally about managing succession to avoid the kind of conflict that we are seeing in ODM now. And it is also important to also accept as a reality that, especially in our politics in Africa, Kenya are not left out. Political parties are individualized. And therefore, when you study KANU, when Moi rested, KANU kind of went to oblivion. When you look at NRC, PNU, look at Jubilee, after the party leader has exited the active political stage, the party seems to lose relevance. It is the case with ODM now, that after the party leader has rested, then the party seems to be facing some headwinds. And it is not unusual. I am not surprised. But what I can pray for the party is that they can find a stable ground to be able to continue having the party align itself with the aspiration of the departed party leader, one and only Raila Odinga. And I know that each time since Raila entered politics, he started doing a merger with KANU, and he became the Secretary General of KANU. After that, he did a merger with Kibaki and became one of the very powerful ministers during Kibaki's administration. He became a co-principal with Uhuru Kenyatta during his administration, and now he led ODM to government and was working very closely with President Ruto. And this is something that cannot be controverted by any straight-thinking Kenyan, that Raila Odinga always wants his people and his party in government.
All right. Wakili, I want to get your sentiments on the same matter, and also, given what is going on within ODM, and now the negotiations between ODM and ODA, how do you see that affecting those pre-election negotiations?
Yeah, first of all, Mike, we must appreciate the role that ODM has played in the country as far as democracy is concerned for the past 20 years, ever since its inception. ODM has been the party where people are given opportunity to voice out their issues and be able to be heard. And sometimes we have seen that the party has embraced different views from different people, and that has seen it grow all that time. And that is what democracy means, that today they will disagree, tomorrow they will agree. Yesterday they disagreed and agreed at the same time. And so that is what democracy is. So what is happening in ODM, in as far as we have a void that is very difficult to be filled, that's the absence of the party leader, then we must appreciate that democracy demands that the things you see in ODM now have to happen. And the question, or rather the test for them, is a test of character, to be able to see whether they will be able to sustain the kind of pressures that they are having within themselves, and be able to formulate a party that envisages the aspirations of the people, and at the same time envisages that idea that the departed leader had in mind. And that is the gap that needs to be bridged. Now, when you see young people like the likes of Winnie, Babu Owino, Senator Sifuna, and others speaking the way they are speaking, ideally the old folks will term that to be rebellion, but that is not rebellion. That is what it means to be growing in a party, and especially a party like ODM that has got a national outlook, a nationwide audience. Such things have to happen so that that party can grow. Now, the next step, or rather the next phase, is how they are going to handle that pressure for them to be able to enter into the general election in 2027 as a formidable force once again that has got what is called a bargaining power at the national table. That is what they need to look for. And I think that is what the party leaders, that is Oburu Odinga and even Winnie Odinga, they are looking for. They are looking for that bargaining power nationwide, such that in the event they are not in government, they find themselves in government. So the question is, how are they going to sustain that pressure, and how are they going to manage themselves as a party to be able to see that they have got a united front to be able to enter into the election and be able to come on the negotiation table as a party once again. It's a tough question to look at, but then I want to disagree with the journalists who wrote that it's Oginga versus Odinga, because that is a party that has got a national and even international recognition. It's not a family affair, as they are trying to put it. It's not Winnie Odinga versus his uncle, Oburu Odinga. It is what democracy demands, that there has to be those rifts, but then the character, or rather the test of character, comes when they need to manage it and come out as a formidable force to enter into an election, that is 2027 elections. Yeah.
And that also just pivots on matters to do with politics within the country, given that they have those UDA-ODM coalition talks. How do you think that would shape now the political center of gravity, especially when it comes to the build-up to 2027 general election? We have ODM and UDA talking about pre-election pacts. Then you look at what is happening within the united opposition. How do you think that is pulling the political center of gravity going into 2027?
Yeah, Migwi, looking at Kenya now and looking back to the recent history, especially since 2002 when President Moi Kibaki ramped to State House, our politics will always be galvanized in coalitions. And as we are looking towards 2027, we definitely see a coalition that will coalesce around President William Ruto, and another one that will be around the former impeached deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. And we can see in the broad-based government where we are having UDA, ODM, there is a deliberate effort to ensure that UDA first strengthens itself. That is why we are seeing the president now trying to make some more inroads into the Mount Kenya region. We have seen, quite a dramatic fall of events with some legislators, some senior party mandarins who are in DCP. They are crossing over back to UDA, and a lot is happening. So UDA is strengthening itself. ODM is also strengthening itself. We need to understand that ODM is grounded on being a party that is so pro-people, a party that agitates for the human rights, equality, inclusivity. So for ODM to maintain its constituency, it has to entrench itself and to ensure that it builds and enhances those ideals of being pro-people. On the other side, the united opposition, where Rigiji seems to be the honcho, and we are having Kalonzo Musyoka there and Wamalwa. Yeah, we are seeing they are also trying to build a coalition, though you can see, and this is where now our politics and Kenyans need to understand that when the president is talking about the bar of politics in Kenya has gone too high. Since 2022, the bar has really gone a little bit high because our politics are no longer again about personalities. Actually, after the demise of Raila Amolo Odinga, and that is the kind of balancing you are seeing in Nyanza, there are people who could not talk. They were completely, they were out of place. But now, without the cultic support of Raila Amolo Odinga, you can see people now are starting to talk. You saw William Oduol, the deputy governor for Siaya, yesterday at Kakamega, and he is now able to talk. Yes. You can see in Siaya, James Agri Orengo is getting a run for his money from the MP for Ugenya, David Ochieng. So with this cultic support and the tribal chieftains is slowly getting out of place. And the future of this nation, and that is what the united opposition needs to understand. You cannot win an election. You cannot galvanize people on some kind of tribal bigotry or some hatred rhetoric, or just saying Kasongo must go and one term. That cannot galvanize
sloganeering.
People. Yes, sloganeering. So we need to understand that people must give their track record. If you were a member of parliament, if you are a governor, what have you done to people, to your people, for you to be able now to tell what I have done in the past, I will be able to reflect it in the future. Look at Ndindi Nyoro and look at what he is trying to project to the country. Ndindi Nyoro is not talking about his tribe. He is not talking about when he is opposing the government, he is opposing it on account of ideology, on the account of policies, and especially the economy. He's saying Kenya is not really aligned to the Singapore economics. We should look at South Korea, because that is where our country seems to have a parallel comparison. So this is the kind of politics we need going to the future. That our people, our leaders will be able now to sit down, give a succinct direction that this is what we need to do for our economy, this is what we need to do to our education for the country to be able to move forward. So as we move around 2027, the united opposition, you can see there's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of gaps, and they are not behaving as the government in waiting. They are not giving alternative leadership. So I think they'll need to pull up their socks for them to be able to give Kenyans direction.
Interesting point, interesting points, and we shall come back to that. But we are looking at the state of the nation. We'll come back to this after this short break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Good Morning Kenya. You're watching KBC Channel 1. We're looking at the state of the nation, politics, economy, and social stability. There's something that Musumbi said, and I want Njeru to chime in on that. The kind of politics that we are doing today, as he said, the bar has risen. Have we completely moved from personality politics, euphoric kind of politics, now gravitating towards issues more?
That's a very good point of conversation. And today we are biased towards ODM. And let me answer that question using ODM as a case study. The conflict in ODM that we see today is also not about the ordinary members of the party.
Yes.
It is about the personal interests of those eyeing various leadership position, political elective position within the party. And I would confidently say that the politics in ODM actually is Nairobi politics. When you look at the marriage between ODM and UDA, you realize that the coalition that is believed to be coming up, and rightfully so, will throw some ODM bigwigs into a level of confusion. For example, my MP, Honorable Babu Owino, is eyeing to contend with the current Nairobi Governor, Johnson Sakaja. And therefore, if and when this, not if, when this coalition becomes a reality, Johnson Sakaja being the incumbent, he's most likely going to be the candidate for the coalition to defend the Nairobi gubernatorial seat. And therefore, this throws Babu Owino's ambition into disarray. Number two, Sifuna, who is now the senator for Nairobi, is also aware that the tribe plays a key role in these election politics. And therefore, being the senator for Nairobi, under the same coalition with Johnson Sakaja, who is also a lawyer, that would mean that the position of Sifuna is to a large extent dented within the coalition. And so what I see Sifuna doing today is trying to bargain for accommodation into the bigger picture. I don't think he's fighting that merger or that coalition, but he's trying to say, hey guys, I'm here, see, I'm the senator, what are you planning for me? So he's doing a pre-bargain the hard way. And therefore, what is happening in ODM is not about the party interest, but the personal interest of respective camps is playing center stage. The victim in this fiasco, by virtue of age alignment, is Winnie Odinga, who is not so much deep into Nairobi politics, but into national politics. But somehow, she gets sucked into the partisan affiliation within his father's camp. But of course, her ideology aligns itself with her peers, Babu Owino and Sifuna, because they are saying, why don't you try a bottom-up economic transformation agenda like it is in UDA, so that we listen to what the crowd is saying, and then we escalate that to the top. Whereas his uncle, who is the party leader, says that he knows what is good for the country, he knows what is good for the party, and is able to bargain hard so that the party is able to get its rightful space within that upcoming merger or coalition. So in essence, the politics of ODM, and it is the case with so many other political formations, is first and foremost personal interest, then members' interest second. And this now, I would want to open the eyes of every person who is a member of political party. And today we are looking into ODM because there's a lot going on there. They need to be very, very talk straight and say, we want the aspiration of our party to be factored within the broader conversation that is going on. Personal interest to be kept aside, but party interest, and which aligns with the party founder, the late Raila Odinga, to be factored in everything everybody agitates for. Thank you.
You know, Wakili, looking at the current political climate and what is going on, do you think from your perspective it's stabilizing the country, going towards unity, or fragmenting it further now that we are heading into a political fever pitch towards 2027?
Yeah, before I delve further into that, the political realignments, you can never, especially if you remember the events of 2024 June, you cannot write off the Gen Z space and the power that they have. You will realize that tribal affiliations are coming to, let me say, they're dwindling. They're coming to an end, kind of. And even the politics that is being played by the young politicians, the likes of Babu Owino, Winnie Odinga, Edwin Sifuna, and others, even Ndindi Nyoro, they are not tribal per se. They are on ideology per se. That is something that you need to look at even as we move into 2027 and even as parties look to form coalitions, be it ODM, be it UDA, and be it the party for Rigathi Gachagua. They are looking for something that will not bring them out as tribal, but as ideological parties. Now, when that is the case, then it is important to note that going forward, the young tasks in this country are going to take center stage, and they are going to play a critical role in the formation of the next government. And whoever, like we saw in the just concluded by-elections, whoever is going to win the bigger vote in terms of the youth will carry the day. So that is what we need to be careful with. And even going forward, the tribal realizations or realignments are coming to, they are being sidelined. If you come out and you speak the way you speak, let me give an example of the former deputy president. You speak the way you speak in a tribal tone, then you get a lot of criticism, and that dwindles your space in terms of what is coming going forward in 2027. Now, the political climate as it is, any person who does not resonate well with the people, any person, let me say, who does not cheat properly, that person will not carry the day. I hope you're getting it. And we saw this from the by-elections, that those who are able to cheat properly are the ones who carried the day. And this cheating is based on the young, or rather what people want to hear. And a majority of the voter, they are the youth. So you tell them what they want to hear, and actually that is what has been, you will be able to carry the day. So that is what I perceive to be the climate, or rather the political climate going forward. That if you are able to resonate well with the people, if you are able to tell them what they are, they want to hear, if you are able to show them that indeed it is possible, you'll be able to carry the day. So there will be no difference between going in 2027 and what happened in 2022 as far as the president is concerned. Yes.
All right. There's a story that is carried on the front page of the Star, and this regards matters to do with the economy. And it says Kenyans turn to digital loans and Shylocks to survive tough economy. Report blames shrinking revenues, unemployment, and high cost of living. That story is told on page 4 and 5. Just to touch a little bit, households are running to digital lenders, Shylocks, and family members for loans to meet pressing new year needs, avoiding commercial banks despite a decline in interest rates. This I will throw to you, Njeru, because you are both also an economist. What do you make of this? The fact that Kenyans are turning to digital loans and Shylocks to survive the ravages of economy?
Matters of economies are interesting to understand because in many occasions what informs these decisions are things that are bare and open.
Yes.
But the challenge is that most of us don't understand these dynamics. And the newspaper has done well to point out to that reality and also to point out to the reasons, the motivating factors to that trend. It has said that it is unemployment and shrinking revenues. Shrinking revenues is because of inflation, such that what you could buy with 1,000 shillings 2 years ago, the 1,000 shillings remains 1,000 shillings, but the things you could buy 2 years ago have reduced. Today you would buy fewer items with the same amount of money. That is the effect of inflation. Inflation is not a Kenyan problem. Inflation is a global problem. Every day, every year, the power of money to buy reduces. And therefore, a smart person, what is supposed to do is not to cry about the inability of the 1,000 to afford the things that they could buy 2 years ago, is to think creatively about how to multiply the revenue streams so that if you were making 1,000 shillings in a day, start making 1,500 shillings per day. You increase productivity so that you can override the effect of inflation. If you don't do that, you become poorer year after year.
Yes.
The other reason that has been cited by that article is unemployment. Again, with the high rate of population growth, you expect so many things to increase. One of them is the rate of unemployment to go up because we are churning out more children from maternity wards every day than the jobs we are creating. Again, at the job market, we are creating fewer new jobs than the number of graduates that we are putting into the job market. And so the rate of unemployment increases day after day. And this is what the housing project by the current administration, this is the disease it seeks to cure, the disease of unemployment. The president has said it time without end, without number, that the motivation for the housing project is to create jobs for the youth. And indeed, with the thousands of house units being put up today, if you go to those sites this morning, you will find thousands of youth at work. Each person has some Kenyan shillings in the pockets to buy unga, leo jioni. The other thing is about the flagship project, big infrastructure project being set up. When you go to all those projects, you find people working there. And therefore, this issue of unemployment is systematically going to be addressed by having such projects. But it may not be a long-term solution to the problem. The way to Singapore talks into the issue of being more industrialized, so that we attract more direct foreign investment. We encourage local investors to expand their factories and industries. And these are not just expanded businesses, they are jobs created. And so when we speak about the journey to Singapore, it is not about putting the almost 60 million people to an airplane and drop them at an airport in Singapore. It is about selling to us a dream that we can be better than where we are today. Pulling together as a nation, we can move from where we are currently, we can create more jobs for our people, we can have decent housing for our people, we can have better health care for our people, We can have better education system for our people. We can have those things that we see in the US, in China, in Singapore, and everywhere else. Even when Raila Odinga was talking about going to Canaan, he was not referring to taking all Kenyans to the promised land in Canaan, the land that is said to be flowing with milk and honey. And I can assure you, when the Israelites left Egypt into Canaan, when they landed into Canaan, they didn't find a land flowing with milk and honey. I don't think God cheated them, but the land was more productive than Egypt. The land had better rainfall pattern than in Egypt. The land would easily provide it for their daily upkeep than Egypt. It was not land of slavery, it was a promised land. So the fact that it was said to be a land flowing with milk and honey did not exactly mean that literally. It didn't mean they wakifungua tapu kwa Canaan, maziwa ndio inamwagika. But there were better opportunities for them than they had when they were in Egypt. There were better, rainfall, there were better housing, there were better roads. Things they could dream about when they were in Egypt, they found them in Canaan. So this is the same story. We will not literally go to Singapore, but we are painting a picture of excellence, a picture of better provision, a picture of success, a picture that every parent would want to dream for their children. And this is what President Ruto has for this country.
Okay, all right. Now, Musumbi,
Yes.
there's a report that was released by the the Bank of Kenya and the Financial Sector Regulators Forum, and actually points out that 4 out of every 5 homes in Kenya are financially insecure, and which is why some of them are taking out pricey short-term loans to cater for their short-term needs. But is it something that we should be talking about today? Matters to do with high cost of living. It is a conversation that has been we've been having day in, day out. Is it prudent that we be talking about it at this time, and especially now that we are heading into a very active period within the elections?
Yeah, there's a little bit of inconsistency between our macro and our microeconomics. Because today we are talking of how our shilling has gained strength against the dollar. In 2022, we were at 160. We have gone down to 120, 29, 128. We are talking of how inflation has gone down to almost 4.7.
Yes.
We are talking of our GDP growth to IMF is projecting at 5% now. So, but these kind of good data we are seeing, and the president is really projecting, especially during his State of Nation address, the common mwananchi is not feeling it. And we need to understand, as now the survey, that out of 5 families, 4 are within financially constrained.
Yes.
Yeah, that is true, and that is a feeling on the ground. And therefore, the government needs to do much more to the very common mwananchi. And I'm happy the government is doing something about it, because when you look at the recently launched Nyota program, is kind of trying to address that, especially amongst our youths. And a lot needs to be done. And as my colleague here, Njero, has said, we need to look at what will put money in our people's pockets. And the issue of unemployment is just, it's such a perennial problem,
yes,
and it needs to be addressed. But how are we going to address unemployment to ensure that there are so many opportunities for our people to engage in, to be able to put money in their pockets? So let us look, how can we make Kenya the hub where foreign investors will come here in droves? And we need to first work on our infrastructure, and especially now on energy. Because as long as we don't have energy, energy which is affordable and which is accessible, we won't be able to industrialize this country and to invite and attract so many foreign investors. We need to look at why did the southeastern, what we call the Asian tigers, why did they develop? And you will find that they have developed with the Western money. so many Western companies. If you look at Apple, Apple today is doing a lot of manufacturing. A lot of its investment is in China, is in Taiwan, is in Vietnam, right? Why can't we make Kenya the hub where these big multinationals will come and invest here? And we have an opportunity because look at the kind of foreign policy that President William Ruto has put in since 2022. You'll find like he has put Kenya at the top of Africa. And look at the kind of attraction the American government is having here in Kenya. We in the sub-Saharan Africa, we are the only country that enjoys a non-NATO ally status. Yes. You saw the kind of health agreement we signed with the U.S. government, despite the litigations that Kenyans are so fond of, and Kenya seems to be like that wonderful bride that both the East and the West are trying to court. And I'm sure if we strategize ourselves, for example, we are having America investing a lot in Congo because of the presence of cobalt, copper, and the rare metals, which are so important for the AI manufacturing. Now, Kenya we must make ourselves the hub where those minerals, after getting them from Congo, here in Kenya, we are going now to add value to them. That is the kind of Kenya we need to make. And you can imagine if those multinationals, if we have Samsung here, if we have LG coming here, if we have Google investing here in Kenya, how many jobs are we going to have? What kind of GDP are we going to grow in Kenya? So these are the kind of things we need to think about for us to make Kenya a developed society and to ensure now that our people, you see, look for example, how did China move almost a 3/4 of its population, 1.4 billion people, around 800 million, around 1 billion people, from poverty levels to fast lane life? It's because of strategic investment. Let us ensure that we have the best roads, we have the best airport, we have good, we have support in terms of energy. And Kenya, we are very lucky because these renewable energy from geothermal, from the wind, from solar, these are what many multinational companies are looking for. If Apple wants to invest in a country, they need to look at, do you have this renewable energy? As opposed to what China is doing, a lot of coal, a lot of things that are bringing about issues to do with climate change. So in Kenya, we have a lot that really, if we tap it, we'll be able to move this country forward.
All right. We have the Singapore dream, Wakili. But then matters to do with economy, we've talked about them for quite some time. But then again, it narrows down to, how do we put money in the pocket of a Kenyan?
Yes, Mike. I will remind you of the things I've said here before. That in any nation, the things that happen therein, the direct things that affect the common person, are political driven. So if we don't have the right-minded people in the high offices, ideally we are screwed. Let me say we are screwed. Because if we get crooks in government, we will get nowhere as far as dreams which, for example, the Singapore dream, we will not get it realized. But I want to appreciate one thing that is happening in the country. That is the Nyota initiative Nani has talked about. That it is helping Kenyans, especially the youth and women, to be able to get what we call business incentives, to be able to set up businesses so that money can flow directly into their pockets. And that was what was ideally meant for the Hustler Fund. That is what was being was being used as a campaign tool by the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, in terms of when he's saying that every Kenyan will get 6,000 every month. That was the initiative. So the question is, how do you get money into people's pocket? The simple answer is that you need to put in place policies, you need to put in place infrastructure, you need to encourage a climate where you are able to attract foreigners to come and invest in your country. That will see to it that you create employment, you create job opportunities, you bring about an environment where business is able to thrive. So in the absence of a conducive political environment, in the absence of peaceful coexistence, even within ourselves, or even within with our neighbors, you will realize that it becomes difficult for any person to come outside and invest in Kenya. When you set up businesses in Kenya, for example, what happened in 2024 and 2025, we had political instability in terms of the Gen Z protests. When we see all that, then it becomes impossible, or rather difficult, to have people get money into their pockets, because their businesses, instead of thriving, they're being destroyed. Now, the other thing is the monster we call corruption within the government. Now, this corruption, you realize that when the president, for example, has put a very good program, there are those people who are just there. Their whole business is to just swindle money and eat, and ensure that that money does not get or perform its intended purpose. That is another monster that we need to deal with boldly as a country, to be able to see that whatever is allocated to go and do a specific work to enable Kenyans to be able to earn honestly is achieved. And that means that then we have to strengthen our structures as a country, be it the EACC, be it the IPOA, be it any state department that needs to perform its work. It needs to be empowered and be able to perform its work to perfection. That way, we can be able to see that money is coming into the people's pockets. We can borrow an example from Singapore, and I will want to share the sentiments of Ndindi Nyoro, as he said that Singapore, we are not ready for it. It's a good dream, it's something wonderful, but indeed we are not ready for it. Why are we not ready for it? It's because we have not created that structure. We have not encouraged that environment where things to do with transparency, accountability, easy flow of policies are not receptive. We have not accepted them. And by so doing, you realize that it derails, or rather it makes it difficult for us to be able to attract that incentive from, for example, a foreigner like Apple, as he said, Samsung, to come and invest in Kenya. We have to create that. We have to be ready for it by creating that environment where we are telling people, hey, look here. Here in Kenya, it's peaceful. Here in Kenya, it is easy and it is transparent. That once you come in, you'll be able to do your things, and we will get your what belongs to you, and we will also get what belongs to us. Number 3, finally, we have to be proactive. We have to be proactive in the sense that as we encourage foreigners to come to our country, then we must also be very aggressive and realistic with them. I say that because in as much as, yes, I accept that the president has made significant steps in ensuring that we get foreign aid for foreign investment, but then we must be very, very strategic and very, very aggressive, so that we need to compete with people like Rwanda in terms of the roads, the environment, how we present our incomes as a country, and how we manage them. That shows our aggressiveness where there is transparency and people are able to see this is what is happening.
All right.
Yeah.
2 seconds. Closing remarks.
Yes. Yeah, mine is we have future Kenya, and we have a bright future. And if Kenyans, if we endear ourselves and remain cohesive, Kenya will move forward because we have all what it takes to get to Singapore and even beyond.
Thank you. Jeru.
Yeah, so let me wade into that conversation as we close about putting money in the Kenyan pocket, the people of Kenya. I'll be very brief. And let me observe that the mistake of ages is that we have always talked about unemployment instead of talking about unproductivity. And therefore, we concoct a thinking that we have to be employed to be productive. And even when we talk about unemployment, we are saying the government must employ.
All right.
And it's not sustainable to think that everybody will work within the public service. And therefore, what we need to advocate for is productivity of our young people so that they are made more productive. And this is what the government is doing through TVET.
Thank you.
And therefore, this is something that we all need to embrace so that when you graduate, go and think about how you can be an employer actually.
Productivity.
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 The other thing is about also thinking about food security, because a large chunk of our revenue goes to food provision. And this is what the president talked about. We need water, not rain.
All right. Acha tufikishe hapo kabla tutolewe onea. Wakili.
Yeah, the country is doing well, but then we need to ensure that there is things to do with the transparency so that we gain back the confidence of the common person in the kind of government that is there for the day.
Right.
Such is what is going to help the government be able to perform its function and also be able to fight the ills that are dragging it behind. So going forward, we need to see a country, or rather a people who are more idealistic and more oriented to